All right, guys, we're off in this direction, about 280 feet.
I'm guessing it's about in the middle of the boulderless beach.
After locating one of the so-called anchor stones, noted on a 14th century French map, which theorist Aaron Helton believes will help lead to the Oak Island treasure vault.
It is a dramatic end to the beach, to the boulders, isn't it?
Marty Lagina and his son Alex, along with Jack Begley, metal detection expert Gary Drayton, and surveyor Steve Gumptill, are searching for the second anchor stone, believed to be located along the island's northern shore.
We're about 60 feet out.
Well, at least we're getting close.
It's just in here, guys. There's the stone.
That's it?
That's it. This is her north anchor.
Wow.
Look at that.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you guys should come take a look. This is a big rock. What is that? There is something that looks like a T or a cross on it at the top.
Really?
But that looks like it could be natural. But I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Alex? Yes or no?
I don't know. It looks like it's most likely natural, but it also does kind of look a little bit like the boat from the boat stone.
Oh, really?
It looks a bit like the boat.
A possible man-made carving, similar to the one found on the mysterious so-called boat stone? Located in Westford, Massachusetts, the boat stone is a 250-pound boulder which contains what many believe are 14th century carvings of a ship, an ancient crossbow arrow, and the numerals 184.
The boat represents a coastal range. Follow the coast.
5 years ago, Oak Island theorist Robert Marcus proposed that the inscriptions on the boat stone were actually the beginnings of a treasure map, one that would lead to Oak Island.
This is the starting point. I believe the Templars had carved this.
According to Robert Marcus's research, the carvings on the boat stone were made by the Scottish Templar knight Henry Sinclair, who many believe sailed to Oak Island in 1398 to hide a vast treasure, which included the Ark of the Covenant and the golden menorah from King Solomon's temple. Is it possible that this boulder, believed to represent one of the anchors on a possible 14th century Templar map, could also somehow be connected to the legendary voyage of Prince Henry Sinclair?
But this is the one Erin said would be here?
She did. Yeah, she sees both of them in the LiDAR data.
Oh, so 2 for 2.
She's 2 for 2.
Yeah. If you compare this stone to the southern anchor rock, they're pretty much the same size and shape and the same sort of rock.
Yeah.
It has a very similar break to the last one. You know, the gouge that was taken out of it?
And size, I mean,
A little smaller.
no, I'd say that's virtually identical.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see what Aaron has in store for us next and how finding these boulders will help lead to the treasure chamber, because that's what it's all about.
The anchor stone. Look for the anchor stone. Yeah, I don't know how you'd ever find it, though.
Right on the edge of the boulderless beach as well.
Right? If you were looking at this from sea.
Yeah. If you'd come in from open water, just come down here and hopefully see that rock. And it shares something in common with the other stone at the side of the swamp. It's in an area where you could tie to it if it was some kind of anchor rock.
They're certainly similar size, shape, and have similar markings on them, but there'd be no way to know this from any other boulder on the beach. If this really is significant, there's got to be another way to identify it.
Absolutely. All right, well, this has been a successful mission.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we're done.
All right.
We found what we were looking for.
Right.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Way to go, guys.
After we've established the money pit area, we'll also be able to predict an actual location for the vault.
In the war room, Geographic Information Systems Specialist Aaron Helton has just presented Rick, Marty, Craig, and the Oak Island team with an astonishing theory. a theory suggesting that the so-called anchor points on a possible 14th century Templar map of Oak Island could hold the key to revealing the true location of the Money Pit treasure vault.
We're gonna go back to our maps here. I found this map of Oak Island. This was published in Popular Science, June 1939. And one thing that I found really exciting was when I discovered that it's just such a great clue. It not only has the 2 drilled stones, but it has all of these other boulders marked. And with these other boulders and measurements marked and indicated, and with the anchor, we can triangulate the location of the Money Pit. Now we're gonna zoom in here. The boulder south of the Money Pit on this map, I'm designating 18A. We have 15A along the east side of the swamp. And another feature, 16A, is a suspected boulder on the coastline. So if we take the location of 15A and we run a line up to our East Meridian line boulder 20A in Smith's Cove, we run a line from 16A on the edge of the beach, and we draw a circle from the west anchor out to 18A just south of the Money Pit location. All 3 intersect in where I think the Money Pit is located. And I'm a big fan of corroborating independent data sources. So I asked for the center point for your Kazon of choice, I guess you could say, whatever Kazon you currently feel is most representative of your Money Pit.
Fire 1.
Yeah.
This lines up within 3 feet of my proposed Money Pit location.
Look at all the wood.
Wow, that is spectacular.
Last year, the team excavated an 8-foot wide steel-cased shaft known as RF1, where they found incredible evidence suggesting they could be close to locating the original Money Pit. Is it possible that Erin Helton, using Zena Halpern's believed 14th century map as a baseline for her theory, has just found more evidence that the Oak Island team was in fact just mere feet from locating the fabled treasure?
Erin, Steve, I've got a question.
Sure.
Do you want me to check all those stones?
If you could lock in the west anchor and north anchor, if we could get those confirmed, that would be great.
Sure.
I'm curious to see kind of how large they are, because the smaller the boulder is, the more precise all the other alignments coming out from it would be. Confirming these suspected boulders, I think we can finally put together an actual location for the vault.
Well, let's get her that data and see what she comes up with.
Certainly will.
So, Erin, we want to say thank you, and we look forward to your continued interest in this subject.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Cheers to the hunt.
There's no doubt that Oak Island was known, it was visited.
In the war room, Rick, Marty, and their partners are meeting with area historian Doug Crowell. Joining them on the phone is Knights Templar researcher Zena Halpern, who has just shared with them her recent discovery of 2 maps and a cipher, which she believes could help solve the Oak Island mystery.
If you want to bring in the big Nova Scotia map, that alone is interesting.
The map that's dated in the upper right-hand corner seems to be dated 1179.
Yes, it's the Roman numerals 1179. It definitely shows Oak Island on the line with the latitude, 46, 47. And then there's another dot above it. It's on the line that says Rodon.
The Rodon part, to me, it suggests New Ross. And I think most people here are familiar with the idea that Henry Sinclair came over to Nova Scotia in 1398 and perhaps settled in the New Ross area.
The town of New Ross in Nova Scotia is believed by some to have been the location of an ancient Templar fortress built in the late 1300s by Scottish Templar knight Prince Henry Sinclair after his journey to Oak Island. But could it be that Sinclair's reported journey occurred more than 200 years after the first Templars visited the area? And if so, might there be a connection between New Ross and Templar activity on Oak Island?
So we have your map that shows Nova Scotia, and we have a map that seems to be a French map of Oak Island.
Yes.
This Oak Island map that you're showing us, it seems to indicate that someone came here in 1347.
Yes, the 1347 map, this is an extremely interesting map. There's one section over to the left shows Oak Island with French words identifying places. So this map is one hell of a mystery.
The hand-drawn map is clearly Oak Island. And then there are several things named in French which have been translated for us. One is called the basin, translated from French. Well, that clearly correlates to the swamp on the Nolan side of the island. Also delineated is something called the marsh, and that would be the swamp proper.
And there is the reference to what's called the dam. And it points to where Fred Nolan articulated to us last year that there was a log wall.
Yeah, and then there's something on the map called the Oak, enter here, which points right about to where the money pit is. And then we have 2 or 3 things that we don't know anything about. One's called the anchors, one's called the valve, and one's called the hatch.
Where it says the hatch, in the McGinnis family, there seems to be some stories that...
About this hatch?
Yeah, one of the uncles, he said, basically, there's a hatch that you only have to sink a spade to find, and that once you do, don't get lost down there.
Rick?
What?
I think we should try and find out some way of verifying these documents. I mean, Rick, don't you want to go dig up the hatch?
No question about it.
Looking at these maps, you have a series of things that correlate perfectly with the island as we know it, and then you have things that we've never heard of. So, of course, we want to search for them.
The story of this, I believe, is multi-layered and very complex. So I want to continue down this road, but there's a lot more work to be done on it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure that Zena's research is going to lead to answers, but this whole place is all about rumor, conjecture, supposition, hope, belief. And so she has a theory which uniquely is backed up by documentation. And I surely would regret not following up on this research.
Zena, we want to thank you for talking with us.
Thank you, Zena.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye, thanks. It was very interesting. Doug, thank you very much.
So this is an anomaly you located.
Yeah, I found it when we were looking for a deer back here. We almost fell in it.
Really?
After obtaining what is reported to be a centuries-old map of Oak Island, Rick, Marty, and their team are eager to investigate what Dave Blankenship has just described as a strange depression in the ground near his property.
I want to show you guys that we're in the general area of the supposed hatch. Here, let me show you in the back of the Yukon. I can project it onto the French map that Zena gave us.
Okay, let's look.
The approach I took was to try to fit the old French map that Zena gave us with new satellite imagery. And so I blew up the old French map, and it's really close. And I want to show you guys, you know, how close it is and how much it lines up.
Let's see how bad it's off. At least the top end of it follows the coastline the same, parallel. Look at the top of that.
Yeah.
It follows it perfectly. It's just offset.
Yeah,
Okay with
I
that.
mean, we don't know how much, and that was 1,300, how much is eroded off the island.
This is probably as good as I'm gonna get it for now.
Jack, yeah.
The thing is, it is in this general area. Right here, right underneath it is where your driveway meets the main road. And this little thing down here is your house. But right about here is our search area. I don't think we have a very good description of what the hatch is even supposed to look like, right?
No, we don't. But that's where it ties in. David found an anomaly
Yeah, a hole over here.
right about where it should be.
This hatch lands kind of where David said,
The hole is.
yeah.
It's close enough. Let's go look at it.
Let's go.
All right, well, we'll make sure I'm going the right direction. Where should I go in at, David?
Go in here by the pole.
Right here?
Yep.
Give him a wide berth.
With that thing, you got that right.
Okay, I think it's clear enough. We can get through here. There it is.
Yeah, I think this is it here. Wow.
Holy smokes.
Could the Oak Island team have just found the mysterious hatch that was indicated on Zena Halpern's 14th century map? If so, what will it reveal? A back door into the money pit? Or perhaps a gateway that leads directly to an incredible treasure?
That's the oddest thing on this side of the island. My first thought was, that's strange.
Yes, it is strange.
Give you a hand up.
On the western side of the island, Rick, Marty, and members of the team have invited area archaeologist Laird Niven to help in their investigation of a strange square-shaped hatch. If the hatch can be identified as man-made and of ancient origin, then the brothers may have found another important clue to help them solve the Oak Island mystery.
It does seem like rocks have been removed.
That's been cut.
That's not natural, and this is pretty loose fill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeps going for a bit, you can see.
So you think it goes off to the side?
At least for a little bit.
And the thing we obviously want it to be is the entrance to a tunnel. And there was some evidence of that. He thought three of the sides were solid, but at least on one side, he thought it might go off somewhat. It warrants further investigation. So where should we go? Who should we notify? How do we do this?
Well, if I was to investigate it as an archaeologist, I'd get a permit, probably remove some of these small trees.
Right. Is there any prohibition against if you're just digging it out with a hand shovel? I mean, we just don't want to get afoul of the rules, you know?
Right. I couldn't do it.
Right.
Without a permit.
I think this is a disclosure deal then. We just tell whoever in the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and disclose it to the authorities. So we have some permitting issues to work our way through before we dig over there.
Rick and Marty's decision to involve the Canadian government will cost them time, but will be beneficial to the process in the long run. There are many who believe that Oak Island is a national treasure and quite possibly a sacred archaeological site. Although 2 centuries of treasure hunting have seen the island dug up, bulldozed, and even detonated, the Laginas and their partners have been determined to take a more responsible and scientific approach.
All right, I think we've done what we need to do here. Well, we have a logical way to pursue it. Right. Thank you very much.
No problem at all.